the SCP Foundation depends on staying out of the public eye and away from public perception in order to accomplish their vital work. If the public were to find out about the Foundation and the nightmares it spends every day protecting us from, it would be total chaos worldwide. They would be so busy trying to field attention from civilians, politicians, and reporters, fending off every random Joe with a smartphone who wanted to take an Instagram story of SCP-096 and endanger his life, that they wouldn't have time to contain all the world-ending anomalies out there. So they operate entirely under the radar. But it wasn't always this way. There was a time when the world at large knew about the SCP Foundation, and the researchers had to find out a way to step out of the spotlight for good. Like everything else about the SCP Foundation, it wasn't easy. The road to the Foundation's current cloak of secrecy was paved with trial and error, experimental magic, and a formidable woman known by the alias Elizabeth Crocker. This is the story of SCP-001, the Frontispiece, also known as the Pikmin-Blank Proposal. It all started in 1964, when several national governments discovered that the Foundation's Overwatch Command was working both for and against all of the countries involved in the Cold War. Canada, the USSR, Israel and Lebanon, and Egypt all withdrew support for the Foundation. The most catastrophic was the withdrawal of support from the United States government, ordered by Lyndon B. Johnson, after his national security team discovered the Foundation had been involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis. At the same time as the Foundation's relationship with these global powers was crumbling, the Foundation made one of its most powerful enemies ever, Person of Interest 001. Also known by her alias Elizabeth Crocker, was a member of the CIA beginning in 1959. There she fell in love with a fellow agent named Dr. Alexandre Hilbert, who was working on a quantum brace capable of altering probability. In 1964, the Foundation reached out to Dr. Hilbert in an attempt to recruit him, but he refused. Shortly after this, he was killed during a test of the quantum brace. Crocker attributed his death to the Foundation, believing them to have tampered with his machine in order to punish him for turning down their offer. After the death of her love, Crocker swore to destroy the SCP Foundation for good. On October 19, 1967, Crocker disguised herself as the personal driver of a member of the O5 Council and shot her 12 times before dropping her body outside of a Foundation safe house in San Francisco. A note was found on the body with a message from Elizabeth Crocker. It ended with this promise: "It's high time somebody broke up your tidy little racket. No, more than one somebody, everybody. We're going to contain you, and you're going to suffocate." Agent Crocker endangered the Foundation's security, seeming to possess a knowledge of all of its outposts, as well as the ability to decipher even its most secure communication ciphers. Several members of personnel holed up in Havana, Cuba during January of 1968 began to brainstorm, looking for a way to increase security and keep the Foundation together in the face of these new threats. A number of different researchers were in attendance, including Dr. Eric Euler, a thaumatologist or a scientist in the field of ritual magic. Though some of his colleagues failed to treat him with the respect he deserved, some out of skepticism and some out of outright bigotry towards his Jewish identity, Euler was a brilliant mind with an idea that could save them all. Dr. Euler proposed a potent solution to the chaos spreading across the world, as companies owned by the Foundation were being exposed and destroyed and their facilities reduced to rubble. Dr. Euler suggested that it might be possible to place some sort of illusion over the businesses acting as fronts for the Foundation, preventing them from being found out by any outsiders. Caddy O'Donnell responded that that wouldn't be enough, that they needed to find a way to get the world to forget the Foundation existed at all, at least for a little while. Dr. Euler, at a loss, reached out to Site-43 to see if they had any thaumatologists at their facility. There was one, in fact, Dr. Okori. Dr. Edwin Falkirk and Chief of Security and Containment Martin Strauss were sent in to brief him on the situation at hand. During their conversation, Okori reported thaumaturgic changes made around his place of work. The information he shared caught Strauss's attention immediately. After a moment of thought, Strauss knew exactly what it meant and who was behind it. It was a sign from someone who would prove immensely helpful, and a mysterious man named Thilo Zwist. Thilo Zwist, also known as Person of Interest 382, as well as a long list of aliases, is a highly skilled cryptomancer who has used his control of anomalies to render himself functionally immortal. He performs a form of magic using language and was previously associated with an organization known as the Giftschreiber, or the Poison Riders. Since his discovery, Zwist has spent decades involved in a cat-and-mouse game of sorts with Site-43 director Dr. V.L. Scout. Now, the same Dr. Scout had planted a reference to Zwist in the mind of Dr. Okore to suggest that the Foundation contact the elusive man for help. With this new plan in motion, Dr. Okore attempted to make contact with Zwist in March of 1968. He met the man at an abandoned building in the Harbourfront district of Toronto. There he found Zwist, who claimed to be expecting him. He teased Okore about the unwanted attention the Foundation was receiving, as well as the danger posed by Elizabeth Crocker. Eventually, he asked, "Are you here to ask for mine help, or did I let you find me for no good reason?" Okore admitted that he was seeking help, and Zwist explained his special method of combining writing with ritual magic in order to imbue the words with power or danger. He offered to craft a phrase, a series of words that, when written on a sign created by him, would keep the public from seeing who the Foundation truly was. He offered to do it exactly once, but not recreate it going forward. All he needed was a piece of language to craft his spell. Dr. Okore offered an initialism as a possibility, suggesting the S.C.P. that comes before the Foundation. Zwist laughed delightfully at this and said simply, "Oh, this is going to work out splendidly." 1 week later, Zwist brought Dr. Okore a simple logo design for a non-existent business called Scout's Cargo Packing, as well as a chemical formula for an antidote that would inoculate anyone who received it against the sign's magical properties. After approval by the O5 Council, the logo was printed on a fleet of moving trucks that could then be used to transport personnel and items across North America without any detection. It was highly effective, and the Foundation began plans to spread this new protective measure throughout all of its facilities. In May of 1968, a collision along Route 66 in the United States damaged one of the trucks, removing its magical functionality. Curious about the repercussions of Zwist's work being destroyed, and about any potentially dangerous effects, Dr. Euler formed the Memesis and Cryptomancy Research Group, where he worked alongside Dr. Okore and Dr. Ilse Renders. As Dr. Renders suffered from a condition that rendered her unable to leave a sealed chamber in Site-43, Euler was reassigned to that facility and worked alongside her and Okore there. During their research, the team learned that damage to Zwist's writing changed its properties in a variety of ways, and he continued breaking down the trucks to try and understand them. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Crocker had not let up in her dogged pursuit of the Foundation's destruction. A shipping container bearing the insignia of a defunct Foundation front company was discovered in the port of Los Angeles on July 2, 1968, containing the badly beaten but still alive Abrasha Skokolski. A note was pinned to his tie reading, "Can you feel the noose yet?" Back at Site-43, Euler, Renders, and Okore reached a breakthrough. The power of Zwist's work came not from the full words of Scout's Cargo Packing, but from the initials S.C.P. itself. Using a combination of grammar and magic, much to the excitement of every English teacher and fantasy fan, they could transfer the properties of Zwist's sign to any other sign bearing the same initials. Just like it always has at the Foundation, it all came down to S.C.P. A variety of former front businesses were revived, all bearing the same initials. There was Star City Poker, Supply Control and Purification, and, of course, Sawyer's Cheesy Pretzels. The high from this breakthrough quickly gave way to another devastating loss, however, as Agent Crocker struck again. In Johannesburg, South Africa, Agent Crocker infiltrated an SCP site under the alias Dr. Gabrielle Fish. There she exacerbated existing racial tensions and took advantage of the apartheid state to sow discord. Crocker killed Regional Director Jansen and dumped his body near Site 19. With a note in his jacket pocket, it said, "You're running out of continents." As the research team kicked off their efforts into high gear, preparing an official research proposal on quantum lingua physics, Elizabeth Crocker continued her grim work. In the People's Republic of China, she used cryptomancy to trigger severe paranoia in Chairman Mao Zedong. drawing his attention to Foundation representatives hiding in the People's Republic of China. This forced Dr. Noble to escape the country, leaving behind any Foundation influence in China. There was, yet again, a note left for her. 5 minutes to midnight. Crocker was closing in. Next, Crocker aligned herself with U.S. President Richard Nixon, tipping him off to the existence of the Foundation and convincing him to have the U.S. Army occupy the facility. Euler, Okore, and Renders had to act, and act fast. Each of the doctors tentatively signed off on the project, ready to put the experiment into practice. Meanwhile, Crocker got bolder and more violent. She killed Foundation personnel whenever she got the chance, abandoning long-form political strategy in favor of spectacle. She used an auditory cryptomantic agent embedded in a recording of I Wanna Hold Your Hand by the Beatles to kill 10 Foundation personnel in a safe house in Scotland. Next, she infiltrated Site-43, where she was defeated by intervention from Zwist himself. At Site-01 on July 9, 1969, Dr. Euler and Dr. Okore now put their creation into place, called the Frontispiece. Within 2 weeks, its effects had spread across the world, cloaking every Foundation front in its anomalous effects. By June of 1970, the Foundation could come out of frightened, panicked hiding and resume regular hiding. They were working actively in the world again, building new sites all the time. In August of 1971, one of the Foundation's trucks was unable to cross beyond the Berlin Wall, as the guards stationed there only read the Cyrillic alphabet. Dr. Euler proposed a solution in the form of a New York-based artist whose work posed similar properties to Zwist's writing. This artist was a man named Andy Warhol, and the Foundation commissioned him to create an imagery-based version of the Frontispiece, compatible with all known languages, allowing the effects to extend to regions that use different alphabets. In the later 1970s, Crocker resurfaced and escaped custody, and shortly after, Dr. Okore was found murdered in his home. She remained active through the 80s, aligning herself with the Reagan administration in an ineffective attempt to make him launch an attack on the Foundation. Currently, it is believed that she is dead, as she would now be over 100 years old. However, if Zwist is any indication, there are tools out there that might have allowed her to extend her life far beyond what is natural. To this day, the work of the original research team lives on, even as the scientists behind it have passed away. It is highly effective, with one exception. Repeated exposure to anomalous activity renders someone immune to the effects of the Frontispiece. Otherwise, however, the Foundation remains secured, contained, and protected. A final letter from Thilo Zwist was recovered among Dr. Euler's effects after his death in 2013, reminding them of their duty to protect the world and do the right thing. He ended the letter with this: Your course was set the moment I baked that lovely little flaw into the writing which you stole. I robbed you of the opportunity to become the tyrants of all our nightmares. You will have no choice but to be better than that, because evil only flourishes in ease. You will never know ease. You and those who come after you will need to keep doing the work. You will get to decide how well you do it, of course. And on that matter, I have a suggestion. Do it right. Stop compromising principles. Now go check out SCP-001 When Day Breaks and SCP-001 The Scarlet King for more insights into the fascinating world of SCP-001.